Sam the Lamb Blue, a Street Beefs legend in the making. How's it going, brother?
Going well, man. Just hanging in there, day at a time.
Yeah, so I appreciate you joining me today. There's a lot I want to get into, but right off the bat, I'm gonna bring up the viral clip of you from a couple of months ago. You had a clip that went viral on SportsCenter and ESPN MMA of you getting a TKO, making some guy do the funky chicken dance looking like Bambi on ice. Tell me about that.
Um, well, yeah, I mean, like you said, it was just a crazy knockout. I think like just how the whole thing was set up is what made it like draw so much attention to it, because it just almost seems like unreal, how it unfolded. Because like in the moment, I definitely didn't think it was gonna be like that, but at the same time, I was so focused on getting the knockout, like I didn't really have anything else in my mind other than getting that. But yeah, it was really neat seeing that many people, see me do something. It was crazy to see.
Yeah, just on SportsCenter's upload to Instagram of that short clip, you've got over 6 million views and acknowledgments and likes on that video from ESPN Ringside and world-renowned UFC coaches and UFC fighters, and everybody saw that clip. Um, and that same day, you fought another guy and knocked him out from beneath him. You guys were on
Yeah,
the ground. He was mounting you, and you knocked him out from beneath. So you had two spectacular finishes in the same day.
yeah. Um, I was real beat that day, so I was trying to like, and like I said, I was kind of like raw into this. Like it was like I jumped head first, but yeah, the first one was honestly, I think, a lot more unexpected because it's kind of just like a defensive maneuver. When he got full mount on me, and I know I didn't want to cover up because it would just be me, getting cornered and waiting to basically be beaten. So I just did what I could, and luckily it worked out for me. Yeah,
So Street Beefs, this is a sanctioned backyard brawls organization for amateur fighters, right?
yep, you said
Okay.
it perfect.
How many amateur fights do you have?
Four now. I have three wins and a tie right
Okay.
now.
Is that just under Street Beefs or amateur
Yeah,
fights total?
just under Street Beast. Street Beast was the first time I ever like fought in a controlled setting ever. Like it was basically like the same as me just like going into a gym with hard sparring, like I had no like real previous experience, ever really sparring with anyone or like being on anything in an environment like that. So Street Beast has really been like my foot in the door for all this. Helped me learn a lot.
And that's a pretty big deal because Street Beef's got a lot of attention. They've got uh, videos on YouTube with hundreds of thousands and millions of views, and uh, a lot would consider this an opportunity that could be a really big launching point for a career in mixed martial arts. Is that something that you're considering, and is that sort of the direction that you think you're going to go in?
That's what a lot of people keep telling me, and I'm trying to, keep an eye out for opportunity, and be as genuine as I can. And martial arts is definitely like something I do want to follow without a doubt. It's more so just me, like when I'm young and all that, wanting to figure out how I want to go about it. Because I never want to do something that I'll end up regretting in the future. I never want to like go down a path that will kind of obstruct what I've already done. So I want to go about it like, in a way that's best for me, but also makes sense like realistically. So right now I think it is something I definitely want to pursue, but I think I'm way too inexperienced right now. So I'm just wanting to, kind of get more what's the word I'm looking for? Grounded and more in depth in the martial arts world.
I love it. How old are you, Sam?
I'm 18 right now. I turned 18 in April.
18 years old. Okay. And are you training full time at a gym?
No, I don't go to a gym or anything. I did for a short time. I went to two classes, and it taught me just a lot about how like a lot like the majority of martial artists go about work and all that. But other than that, I started like training specifically for martial arts when I was 14. And since then, I've just thought about it, and like when I could like, find people to fight or spar, I did, but that was real rare. So I've just spend a lot of time trying to teach myself the basics and fundamentals. But like I said, a lot, especially with grappling and all that stuff like that, you can really only learn like in practice with it. So that's what Street Beast has been so big for me, because like basically like just coming out of nowhere and coming into an environment like that, I feel like no like gym experience, none of that. It was really, really an eye opener for me. Like it taught me a lot.
I'm sure. And so you've got the two fights that we mentioned, and both of those resulted in knockout victories for you.
Yeah.
And you've got one fight that was waved off with no definitive result. A lot of people felt like you were the winner because the damage you cause is what resulted in the fight being waived. It's possible that you and your opponent could have a rematch down the line, but many would consider that a victory for you. And then you just
Oh,
fought last weekend, correct?
yeah.
And how did that fight go?
Um, Definitely. I don't know. That fight felt a lot different because my mindset going into it. Like, I don't know. The fight before that with Pachi, it's like I had a lot of head fog because I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. I just knew I had to do it. But in this fight, I think I had a lot more tenacity, and I was a lot more forward in this fight. And I don't really ever plan on striking much because like in all my fights, even like before I even was on Street Beefs, striking just wasn't really something I ever lasted long on my opponent. So I knew I would grapple eventually. But in this fight, I was just trying to be real. I wasn't trying to, I guess, get got. I wasn't trying to get in a position where I could get stuck. So I learned up from Apache that like once you get in a certain position, it's real hard to escape sometimes. So I was really just trying to, stay on top the whole time. So it was I fought a real, like, he was a real steady guy. But yeah, the fight itself, it was real good. I learned a lot. I just tried to give him all, like always.
Yeah. Well, based on your first few fights in Street Beefs, I think all of your future opponents know at this point that you've got a lot of power in your hands. You like to stand up because you're really good on the feet. And so it seems like because this last fight you were facing an All-American wrestler, correct?
Yeah.
And so the fight
He was a real dominant wrestler.
and inevitably the fight wound up on the ground and
Like,
somehow you secured one of the most unorthodox submissions I've ever seen. I don't even know what to call it. It was like a neck crank with your legs, and I'm not sure if it was just the pressure or if you were actually cutting off his airway, but he tapped pretty quickly. It was a really interesting position that you were able to secure, and so you wound up getting the submission victory.
yeah, striking, I wish I could have like I guess like kept it low key for longer. Cause now it's like, I get maybe two, three like a fire punches in and it's straight to the ground. Which I can understand why, because no one wants to get hit with bombs all day. So it's like it's only makes sense that I do a lot more grappling than I want. But yeah, he was really controlling the match with the ground, which I'm not uncomfortable on the ground, but it's definitely not my strong point. And I remember we went into it, and it's like I wasn't really in a bad position at first, so I had time to think. And granted, I don't have a lot of experience in martial arts. I know a lot about the human body, like that I've learned. I know like what hurts and what doesn't. And I was thinking, if I can just get him in a spot where I can put enough pressure on either his like head or his neck, I know I would tap personally if it was painful enough. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try to do that. And it's like he really like rolled into my lap because I guess he didn't know what I was trying to do either. So I was able to like just lift him up. Now I remember I locked in, and when I locked in, it's like I just got a sense of like it was like a game of chicken. Like let's see who can hold out longer. And then I put all my effort into like squeezing as hard as I could. I guess yeah, it was like a neck crank. I guess because like the angle I was pulling at, I was just trying to see if he could outlast it or not. But yeah, it definitely caught me off guard as well.
Yeah. So even Scarface, who is essentially the creator and host of these fights, went on social media afterwards, and his reaction was priceless. He had never seen anything like it, and he spoke very highly of you, saying that you are very much a Street Beefs legend in the making. and it seems like he's pretty excited to have you on his roster and excited to continue giving you fights in the organization.
Yeah, I was real grateful to hear that because where the fights don't come out for a bit of time sometimes, I just have to go off what people say to understand my performance. And a lot of times, when you're fighting, it can be hard to remember what happened, like the details. So I was glad that someone else like thought it was an entertaining fight because I try to always like provide some excitement.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, it's obvious what you might lack in experience right now. You very much make up for in heart and focus and grit and determination and power and all of the things that are maybe harder to teach. And so at this point, it just seems like a matter of time and being patient and giving yourself the opportunity to learn some of the more technical aspects. Do you have any interest in joining a gym and maybe starting to look at this like an actual career path for yourself?
I think without a doubt, I want to join a gym just to, I think, have more martial arts experience because there's so many other people like me who just like think fighting is like fascinating and like the martial arts like part of it and just like the creativity involved. So I think I definitely do want to just to see other people's perspectives and see if I can kind of take some of what they know or what they've learned through it and add to myself. Cause like, a big pull, like even like, some when I felt like grapplers, strikers, like things they do, I've tried to add to like, my own I guess like my own abilities, so I can like increase like, my style. But it's definitely something I want to do, it's just like, finding the right gym and the right environment. But I think it is something I'm gonna like not only do I want to, but gonna have to do sooner or later. So yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. What inspired that fascination with fighting and combat sports? Did you start out as a fan? Did you start out as someone who got into fights growing up? And what kind
Um
of inspired you? And to follow that question up, uh, how did you get connected with street beefs? Just kind of tell me how all of this has unraveled for you.
it's kind of crazy, but I guess I started like square one. I never really. It's not that I ever disliked fighting, but it was never like incredibly fascinating to me. And I still to this day have a hard time watching a lot of fighting, like boxing, MMA, like Muay Thai. Like when I first started fighting, I always had a hard time watching it on film, so I was always just like, I want to try that, I want to do that, and all that. But what got me into fighting really was it's kind of like for self-expression because I wanted to express myself in a way that I felt like I could do it fully. And it's like, when you're up against another person, you put so much on the line. And it's like I feel like you can really let loose, like let everything out. So it's more so a way of me to just give my all to something. Cause I always wanted to do that. And then I started, I would like when I was a lot younger, I want to say 15, before like anyone in my town really knew me, I could like convince people to spar me and all that. And then as I got stronger and got older, it became harder to find opponents. So I eventually was like, like just going around like street fighting and all that in my town isn't gonna get me anywhere. And I'm eventually gonna like, reach a stalemate. So I need to move higher up. So I remember I originally was on TikTok. That's where I first started. And that was when I just posted videos of me doing like, my crazy training and all that. And they got before I like when I started my page, it got a lot of traction. And people would tell me to do all these things, and Street Beast was the most reoccurring one. And I was like, nah, like, I'm not cut out for that, all this and all that. And I remember eventually it's just like something clicked and I was like, well, if I want to go forward, I have to fight. Like I literally have to put myself in a position where I can move forward. And like I said, I started training when I was 14. So I had just a lot of time to think, but it's like all that time I spent like training myself and all that, I never really thought it would see the light of day. I really didn't, because it's like it just seemed like a dream, It didn't feel like it would be real. And I remember I was just like, I need to do something bigger. I have to. I'm gonna just stall out. I'm not gonna go anywhere else. So I eventually, after like thinking about it, I was like, Street Beast is like, it's just a too good of an opportunity to waste. So I went there. I wasn't doing well when I got there. Like I had barely slept, hardly ate, and all that. But I was like, before I go back to like Knoxville, I need to do something. Like I have to do something noteworthy. So I was tired before for the first fight, but I fought the first fight and the second one. I was like, let's give it. I want to show the world, me basically, and then I can be satisfied. But yeah, it was like me chasing something. That's what led me to Street Beefs, I guess. Like me chasing something bigger than me that led me there, and now I'm, somewhere where I can consistently fight. So I'm real grateful for the opportunity to fight at Street Beefs.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's incredible. It's an incredible platform for someone who has an interest in expanding their experience in the realm of martial arts. And um, most of your fights have ended pretty quickly. It seems like you've taken minimal damage, if any at all. And so that certainly helps with the activity. And um, I suppose I'm interested in because you're weighing in around 160, right?
Yeah, like for the first time, I've always wanted to get heavier, just because the heavier I am, the harder I can hit.
Yeah.
And just recently, I've been able to stay consistently at 160, like
Okay.
around that range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were to um, go pro, let's say you join a gym and they're able to secure you a fight and you make that leap from amateur to professional, would you bump up to 170? Are you thinking bigger, 185?
Well, I mean, I've always had an incredibly hard time, like taking care of my weight, like like if it came to dieting or something, and like year round, I'm usually in shape because like fighting isn't really like a hobby for me. It's just something like I've done for so long. It's just normal. So like year round, I'm 160. Like I might, drop down a pound or two or go up a pound or two, but I'm always at that range. So I think I'd fight at my walking weight because not only am I most comfortable there, but I feel like it would be like my way of being like true to the sport. Like if I'm always in fighting condition, I think it would show like, just like how in depth or how I'm immersed I try to be, in it. Like, and I would like to get heavier over time. Like, I don't want that to be my permanent weight, but I don't want to try to force myself to get heavier. But
Yeah.
if I'm able to get heavier, I definitely would like to go up in weight classes just, because like I said, like the power benefits and things like that, I would love to have. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool, man. So I've got just a few more questions, and I want to be respectful of your time because I know you're going
Oh,
in
you're good.
to work later. Um, when can we expect to see you in Street Beefs again?
I think I might sit this one out in November just so I can like think and all that. But I really, really need to have my rematch with Amapachi for the sole fact he taught me a lot that fight. Like granted, it could have went a lot different if it wouldn't have been stopped and all that. I did learn like so much. Like I remember before I fought him, my worst fear was fighting him because he's such a good grappler and being put in a rear naked choke. Because that position, in my opinion, is almost inescapable, especially like in the world of like mixed martial arts where like you only have so much like or sanctioned, I guess, where like there's only so much you can do in a position like that. I knew that even like with me with my power and all that, if I get put in that position, I'd be powerless. And fighting against that, like it helped me not only like overcome a fear like barrier, but just it like instilled me with I guess a stronger sense of will to fight through it. So even no matter how the first one ended, I do owe him another rematch. So I do want to come back soon, but I also want to take plenty of time to think about what I'm doing too. So I never want to go into the cage with like a bad mindset because it makes fighting all the more harder. But soon I do want to be back. Yeah.
Yeah, give yourself some time. Why not?
Yeah.
So, do you watch a lot of MMA or other combat sports?
I really do try. I think I've watched the most boxing. Uh, I really like all combat sports. My favorite one is probably Sambo, but I really like things like Lethway and Muay Thai, things like that. Like a lot of striking. I think striking is real fascinating. But things like jujitsu too have their place. But I really don't honestly. For the sole fact, it's like it's almost like a tease. Like it's like if you was really into cars and just looked at other people with nice cars all day, you'd just be like,
Yeah.
man, I want that. Man, I want that. And before I fought, I would just think like, if I was in that position, I'd be trying to do this. If I was in that position, so it forces me almost to like, dream. Like it really feels like a tease, but like for short periods of time, I will watch it like, that's so cool, that's so fascinating. But it's like it's always the same thing. Like I'll watch a little bit and then just it makes me want to train or it makes me want to try something out. So I really don't watch a lot of combat sports, honestly.
Yeah, it's too much of a tease. I get it.
Bro, that's what it feels like. Like it
So
really.
let's take the UFC for instance. Do you have a dream fight or someone that, let's say, one day you find yourself in a position to um, fight one of the guys that you're currently watching? If so, who would that be?
I don't think I have a dream fight yet, just because there's like so many just dangerous people in the UFC. Like it's unreal. Like, and I know like it's good, have ambition and all that. But I couldn't sit here with a straight face. I could imagine going toe to toe with anyone. But I know one day, even though like I don't think I could ever become like a heavyweight, like I'm just not tall enough. And I guess what they call them, exhibition matches or anything. I would love to fight any heavyweight, but like not be a heavyweight because it's just like people who are just naturally larger. Like whether you want to admit it or not, size does matter in a fight always. Like it always matters. And I've always like envied just people who are just naturally huge, like 6'2", like over 200 pounds. Cause it's like you can do a lot with that build. And I think like eventually, even though I don't think I ever be a heavyweight, I'd love to do like a exhibition match with like a heavyweight person just to see how I fare against them. Because I've always fought people bigger than me, but it's different when they're that trained and that skilled. Like so, it would be a dream of mine to just fight bigger and stronger people than me physically.
Yeah, that reminds me of Nick Maximov's Dana White Contender Series fight. He's a natural 185 pounder, but they didn't have any to face him against, and so he fought a heavyweight and outgrappled him and won.
It's crazy. It's really just crazy. Like it is so wild.
Yeah, it's like those old school early UFC day fights where it's just
Those are ridiculous. Absolutely
yeah.
ridiculous. Crazy.
Well, final question for you, man. There's a big UFC card coming up next weekend. Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev for the 155-pound title. Do you have any predictions for that matchup?
Even without trying, I've somehow got like roped in to sing so much about that fight. And Oliveira, just like his grappling, when I see it, it's just like it really makes like a person like me, like and any other person going against the shoes, like what can you even do? Like what can you do? But the other guy, he was trained, by really, really experienced and gifted fighters. So I really don't know because they both are like they're just doing their thing. Like they're both dangerous people. But if I had to pick, I'd have to say Oliveira just because just his tenacity, and
He's a
his like
dog, baby. Do
he's just
Bronx.
he just goes hard. It's crazy, man. But like
Yeah,
I said, they're both great fighters. But if I had to pick a side, I'd have to pick him.
yeah. Well, I think this is one of those scenarios where, regardless, the fans win. So
For real,
it'll
for
be a
real.
fun one to watch.
That is very true. But
Okay.
yeah, man.
Well, cool, man. I really appreciate you joining me today. And I think once we get you on our page and remind the fans that the guy who had that crazy viral knockout a few months ago is still out there somewhere, we'll be excited to see you in your next fight.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. Well, Sam, you're 18 years old. You're gaining a lot of experience and you've got a lot of time. I think you've got a very bright future ahead of you, and I'll be excited to see where you go.
I appreciate it, man.
All
Thank you.
right, brother. And then just before we sign off, where can our fans find you?
Um, you know, I don't do too much on social media, but on Instagram, True Catonia. So yeah, if anyone's ever curious as to what I'm doing or what I'm thinking, you can find out on there.
There it is. And then otherwise, make sure to tune in to those Street Beef fights via YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Sam. Thank you so much, and you have a great rest of your day, man.
You too. Thank you.
Cheers.